Major Garrett joins us now from Washington. Major, Donald Trump has turned a lot of his attention to Marco Rubio. How do you see this playing out?
Well, look, Donald Trump turns his attention in whatever direction he believes most immediately threatens where he is in the polls, unless it's Ben Carson. Ben Carson, he sort of only occasionally will throw a barb at, but on Marco Rubio's case, Donald Trump clearly sees Rubio, the freshman senator from Florida, as someone who has been gaining some momentum in the polls, getting closer in Iowa and New Hampshire, and rising nationally. And there's another candidate who's also a United States Senator, Ted Cruz, who's also been rising right along Rubio, but he doesn't get any Trump attacks. And why is that? Because Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, for a lot of complicated reasons, have kind of a non-aggression pact. So Trump sees Rubio rising and wants to try to knock it down on two basic levels of argumentation. One, that he's too inexperienced. He can't handle the big stage of the United States presidency, and that he's weak on immigration. If Rubio continues to rise, you will see Donald Trump be more and more specific about his grievances against Rubio, talking to Trump supporters that Rubio is simply too weak and not credible, not strong enough on immigration. And if that doesn't work, then Trump's going to have to come up with a different line of attack.
Major, you mentioned that Donald Trump doesn't go after Ben Carson that often. How about the other candidates? Do they perceive Carson as a legitimate threat?
Ben Carson is a fascinating figure in this political conversation because, like Trump, there are many establishment Republicans who've been around electoral politics for a long time who say, you know, they have real supporters, they have real organizations, but they can't be the nominee. Well, the fact of the matter is, if they retain their current polling position, and their organizations, already solid in the early primary and caucus states, grow as they continue to have success, guess what? Either one of them could possibly be the Republican nominee. And what the Carson and Trump campaigns like to talk about quietly is they love the fact that lots of Republicans don't think they can get there. And so what they're doing is all the work that they need to do, and by the time Republicans who've never thought they could get there realize that they possibly can, they hope it'll be too late. So Carson and Trump both occupy this outsider, apolitical, non-political mandate for Republican primary and caucus voters, and until someone takes that away from either one of them, or both, they're the front runners, and they're the most likely Republican nominees.
Major, I want to turn back to this argument over the debates for a moment. Donald Trump, Chris Christie, John Kasich, and Carly Fiorina have essentially taken themselves out of the fight, at least the concerted effort to fight here. Is this Republican attempt to change the debates already over?
Well, in large measure, it really is, because there was one truth about this debate over debates that sort of got lost, which is, in the end, Republicans are going to show up where there's a huge audience and big television cameras and podiums. They're not going to tell NBC, ultimately, I don't think, you know what, that debate we had scheduled in February and the network audience you could bring, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, forget about it. We don't need it. Look, they're going to show up. Could there be some conversations at the margins about how to put the debate together? Yes. But first of all, Carly Fiorina, to be fair, never was involved in this process. She opted out of it from the very beginning. But Chris Christie and John Kasich have said, look, this is a losing argument. The Republican Party and our campaign shouldn't be talking about debates. That's not our message. That's not what we're trying to be president of the United States. And they're also afraid of something that President Obama pointed out. Look, if you're all knocked off your game by a couple of moderators, can you really handle the rigors of the presidency itself? And there are a lot of Republicans who looked at that and said, you know, that's not the place I want to be right now. So they're moving away from this whole idea that the debates need to be just exactly the way they want it. And the fact of the matter is, whenever there's a debate and wherever there are big cameras and podiums, the Republicans who are invited will show up.
All right, Major Garrett, thank you so much for your insight.
You got it.